Mr. Joe Trimble.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is truly an honor to have the opportunity to address the 2022 Energy Summit and welcome to Santa Fe, New Mexico and the beautiful La Fonda Plaza. My name is Joe Trimble and I have the privilege and honor of being the chair of the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce. We like to call ourselves the Hispano Chamber as Albuquerque is not the limit of our reach. I liken this to my real job as the small business leader for Wells Fargo, supporting our small business strategy in 12 states in the Central Time Zone. Being a native New Mexican and born and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I am passionate about my state and I work hard every day to ensure small business owners are supported by the Chamber and Wells Fargo in each of those 12 states. This Energy Summit is a first-time collaboration between the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and a local Hispanic chamber. And as the chair of the Hispano Chamber, I am excited to participate. The idea was born when the USHCC chose Albuquerque for their 2019 national conference, and COVID, of course, delayed us until now. And what an interesting time to be in the energy business. The energy industry faces a variety of opportunity and challenges. Not the least is navigating political waters in Washington, here, and in every state. The summit aims to spark dialogue on the critical issues affecting the energy sector, including the demands of diverse human assets blended with the supply of various natural resource assets. What got us here won't get us there, as we acknowledge our country's current and future demographics in shaping our energy future. At Wells Fargo, we support the diverse cultures with the Hispanic and Native peoples communities and are proud to honor the cultural heritage and the impactful contributions made to our economy. We are privileged to serve our customers for more than 170 years and are committed to meeting the community's diverse financial needs to achieve financial prosperity. To demonstrate Wells Fargo's long-standing commitment to the Hispanic and Native peoples, we will continue to engage in initiatives focused on advancing customer, community, and workplace outcomes. We believe that our company's success is tied to the success of the communities we serve. Wells Fargo is proud to support and work alongside chambers and small business organizations moving toward a stronger representation, financial success, and future impact. Wells Fargo has long supported energy development in the U.S., and as the sector has evolved, so has our business. Wells Fargo has been a leading financial partner to traditional energy companies as well as the renewable energy sector for many years. We value our relationships with our energy and gas clients in the U.S., and we are one of the largest lenders and investors in renewable energy and clean technologies. Between 2012 and 2020, we deployed approximately $157 billion in sustainable financing. We have committed to deploy an additional $500 billion from 2021 to 2030. Wells Fargo has invested over $13.3 billion in clean energy projects across the country between 2005 and 2021, making us a leading provider in the tax equity market. We recognize that global energy industry transformation is a journey, and we are working methodically and strategically with our stakeholders, taking important steps to support our clients and our communities in the transition to a low-carbon economy. We will continue to support our customers in this industry as they provide the fuel that powers society today and respond to the evolving market, and as they invest in clean technology, innovation, and solutions to assist in their own low-carbon transmissions. The United States Hispanic Chamber, the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber, and Wells Fargo are committed to continuing this dialogue to develop a deeper understanding of the needs and address issues affecting the communities we serve. This conference is just one step in the journey to bring awareness and to ensure the work needed is being done. Thank you for the time today and for letting me share my comments to get our plenary luncheon started. I hope you enjoy this inaugural Energy Summit. Next up, I'd like to introduce Steve Cisneros, the Vice President for External Mobilization at American Petroleum Institute. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Thank you for the welcome, and thank you to the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber for the chance to speak today. As a native New Mexican, I have to tell you it's an honor to represent the American Petroleum Institute at the first Energy Summit. API is America's top advocacy group for the country's natural gas and oil industry. We have Democrats, Republicans, independents on our team in Washington, D.C., and throughout the nation. And in case you don't already know, we support an all of the above energy approach. We acknowledge the role alternatives and renewables play in a lower carbon future, and we believe in safely and responsibly increasing energy production here at home, driven by American oil and natural gas. Here in New Mexico, the oil and gas industry is personal, with the industry supporting more than 46,000 jobs as recently as 2019. And that's nearly the size of the entire city of Roswell, and definitely bigger than my hometown of Belen. Some people say the world does not need natural gas or oil anymore, and that we can move past both. But the reality is that the global population is expected to increase another 2 billion people by 2050. Today, 800 million people still don't have access to reliable and affordable electricity sources. Natural gas and oil are the best ways to alleviate what we call energy poverty. Even more, independent experts also agree that even if every nation fulfilled their commitments and the requirements under the Paris Climate Agreement, and even if we maximize renewables, nearly half of all energy used in 2040 would still come from natural gas and oil. Bottom line, population and energy demand are rising, and we must decide where will that energy come from. Will it be reliable American natural gas and oil produced using the latest technologies under some of the highest environmental standards, or will it come from foreign sources from less friendly regimes under lower environmental standards? Europe knows how that story ends. Look, some of the energy realities may sound daunting, but there are reasons for optimism and hope, and yes, even bipartisan cooperation. We see this in 3 specific areas: bolstering our energy security, addressing climate change, and building an energy workforce of the future. Just like any major advocacy group, we keep up with American voters and where they land on big issues. API did a poll in March and found that more than 80% of Democrats support 3 big concepts: producing oil and gas here in the United States to maintain global leadership, producing oil and gas to lower costs, and producing oil and gas to keep us secure against actions by other countries such as Russia. These level of support pretty much match the support levels that we see across independents and Republicans as well. Second, people of all political persuasions want a cleaner world. And as we transition from using coal to cleaner natural gas, the U.S. has led the world in reducing carbon dioxide emissions since 2000. API member companies are investing millions of dollars in carbon capture, methane emissions reductions, and advancing cleaner fuels, and bringing new technologies to the commercial scale. And with Earth Day around the corner, there's a good chance we'll hear politicians demand new metrics, objectives, mandates, and target dates on climate, but none of that will get us to where we all want to go without action. And the real and tangible environmental headway API companies make in American energy. To do it right, we are working with it on a 3rd bipartisan pillar, building the energy workforce of the future. We are taking steps to ensure that we recruit the best and brightest workers, and that this workforce increasingly looks more like America, the country we all call home. And based on analysis of U.S. employment trends, nearly 50% of job opportunities through 2040 are projected to be filled by people who identify as African American, Hispanic, Asian, or non-white. And as an industry of problem solvers, we need the individual perspectives from all backgrounds. API and our member companies recognize that diversity, equity, and inclusion in our workforce and supply chains make us stronger, and we are going beyond rhetoric to make that happen. And one of the ways that we are doing that is through our Minority Serving Institutions initiative. Students at Hispanic serving institutions, historically Black colleges and universities, and others receive free access to API's world-class standards, which can give them a running start on practical knowledge for future careers in the oil and gas industry. API also provides opportunities for internships for students from its MSI partners, including New Mexico State University. And I'm happy to provide more information to anyone that's interested later in the conference. Again, it's an honor to be here today. As I mentioned at the beginning, the energy choices we face are significant, but there's an easy answer to one big question: manufacture energy produced safely and cleanly here in the United States, or ramp up foreign dependence from less reliable nations. I think the answer is obvious, and working together, let's sustain the momentum of bolstering energy security and addressing climate risk and building the workforce of the future while keeping energy production of all kinds right here in New Mexico and across America. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks, Mr. Cisneros. Now joining us on the stage for sponsor remarks is President and CEO of Perkin Enterprises, LLC, Mr. Frank Garcia.
Concentrating solar thermal, concentrating solar thermal, concentrating solar thermal. I am here today to provide some brief remarks on how Perkin will be leveraging this technology. But before I do, I just want to say a quick thank you to Ramiro, to Ernie, to Cynthia for bringing us all together to highlight this important topic. So the governor opened up with energy transition. And as we all know, that is a really big point of contention across the world. But any successful energy transition must provide energy security and resilience. We must have power when the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining. And so at Perkin, we believe that that is best achieved through advanced energy storage technologies. We have some of those right now in the form of lithium-ion batteries. We've heard a lot about them. They power Tesla vehicles. They're tied to some of our grids, but they are fraught with geopolitical risk, interruptions to the supply chain. And so in this audience today is my business partner and the chief engineer over the Hypersonics Test Investment Program, John OBrien, who has been working for the past 2 decades to help the United States field hypersonic capabilities, redesign ground test facilities, and modernize our test and evaluation technologies. And I would love to claim that I was a founder of this idea, but it was him. And he has birthed a new division of Perkin called Sol Energia, or for my Latino friends, Sol Energia. But what we are going to be doing is redeploying 2 decades of technology development and advanced engineering in the form, keep up with me, of a long duration, ultra high temperature solar thermal battery. At its core, it's going to be able to provide dispatchable energy, renewable, and it will be always ready. So thank you to the Chamber for hosting us today. Thank you all for supporting energy transition. As important as wind is, as important as traditional photovoltaics are, as important as oil and gas are, we have to fill the capability gaps. And we have to do so in a way that provides security and resilience. And we believe that Perkin, through our long duration, ultra high temperature solar thermal battery, will do just that. Thank you all.
We are honored to invite our next speaker to the stage. Let's offer a round of applause to the President and CEO of the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce, USHCC board member, and outstanding partner, Mr. Ernest C. de Vaca.
Thank you all for being here. And, Frank Garcia is doing 10 times more than I ever accomplished in my life, and he's half as young as me. So we have great things coming with Frank Garcia and Perkin in the future. Hey, I want to say, first of all, thank you to the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber staff who's out there for helping in this wave, and for some of our board members that are here that have supported us on this great summit. Hey, I'm excited today. In 2018, Dr. Dan Arvizu, who I met at Barelas Coffee House a few years back, he became the chancellor and the 28th chief executive of New Mexico State University, one of the nation's foremost Hispanic-serving institutions. Prior to this, he was appointed the 8th director of the National Renewable Energy Laboratory and served 11 years until 2015. He was the first and only Hispanic to serve as an executive director for a national laboratory. Yeah. We need to change that. We need to up that. But yes. So Dan's list of accomplishments can easily be found on the internet. And I didn't really want to read through those because there are many. His achievements are as great as there are many. But he gets lost in traditional introductions of Chancellor Arvizu is a connection he has to his cultural roots. His world-class accomplishments take up so much space and time that the essence of what is inside the man gets overlooked. It is why he is so important to this inaugural Energy Summit. Dan understands balanced energy to include renewables, traditional energy sources, science, technology, engineering, and policymaking, but not so many know where he came from and why systemic solutions that include the underserved and underprivileged are so important to him. Dan is humble, but when he is in a small group settings where his CV does not get in the way, he will get personal. He will talk about his life experiences, being a child of immigrant parents whose dad at one time was one of those young men shining shoes at the border crossing between Mexico and the United States. He'll talk about his dad selling shoes in the United States and how his parents' messages about being a shoe salesman now resonate as he talks about his role of selling big and bold ideas. Not expecting to afford to attend college, his love of music had him and a friend walking on the New Mexico State campus as a senior in high school and unexpectedly bumping into the band director, which eventually led to a music scholarship. His engineering and scientific academic journey began by being able to play a trumpet, something he still does today with the New Mexico State University Marching Band. You can see how a young Hispanic from Alamogordo, New Mexico, began to use those humble lessons to form his views on how to make the world a better place, a time and place where he learned to be open and willing to take calculated risks, and then to become one of the world's best risk managers, deciding which sciences and technologies to invest in for one of the world's most successful companies. And as the person who, under 3 presidents, decided in which sciences to invest in as the leader of the National Science Foundation, and why he would return to his alma mater, a school that reports 74% of its students come from the underrepresented communities, and over 50% of whom are Pell Grant eligible, truly the underserved, and why he believes they can make a difference. While his accomplishments are extraordinary, you will see how he relishes the accomplishments of his family, his friends and his students, his managers, and many of those who he mentors. I also want to thank him personally because he was at a different board meeting at another part of the country, and he flew in specifically to speak here today. With that, I'd like to welcome Chancellor Dan Arvizu. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernesto, and for that overly generous introduction. Gosh, what a delight it is to be here with you. And when I was first asked by the Hispanic Chamber if I would be willing to speak, I said absolutely. This is obviously just a continuation of my life's work, and so much to say. I know I only have a limited amount of time with you this afternoon, but I wanted to hit a couple of key points, and I wanted to start by just thanking Ernie for his leadership. Let's give him a round of applause. He needs that. I think that's important that we have people that continue to really put their shoulder to the wheel. I also wanted to offer to API, hey, we're one of those institutions that you can partner with on creating a diverse workforce. We're happy to talk to you about that. And also Fred Garcia, solar thermal batteries. I'm a big fan. Those are areas I think that have a great deal of potential, and in fact we all know we need storage technologies. let me start by just saying, gosh, I've been on this journey for, 50 years. It was in the mid-'70s that I actually left Bell Labs to join Sandia Labs to start their solar programs. And I remember when we were working on these little 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter coupons of photovoltaics, and my colleagues would come and look at me and say, "What are you doing?" And I'm saying, "Well, we're working on this solar technology. It's LEDs, obviously working backwards." And the response was always, "Gosh, what are you working on that for? That's never going to amount to anything." And I remember those comments early on because it was clearly not something that everybody embraced back again, in the 70s and 80s. And now you fast forward to where we are today, and it's amazing what is occurring now. It's absolutely amazing. It's mind-boggling. I used to keep the numbers in my head all the time when I was at the National Lab to try to be the spokesperson for, hey, look at all the great progress that's being made. I don't have to do that anymore because, frankly, there's great progress going on. The additions of renewable energy resources on our grid are essentially dominating the new starts these days. Obviously, we're retiring coal power plants, and they're competing essentially with natural gas as well. The one piece that has made that possible is the fact that over many years, decades, we were able to reduce the cost of the technologies to make it on parity with the incumbent technologies. So that was one big part of what the research community was all about. The second part was the deployment. How do you get it into the system? And that also requires public policy. It requires essentially the financial markets to weigh in. You need expansion capital. You need just a bunch of things that are part of the Venn diagram that I always show: technology, policy, and market. All of those things need to be harmonized in order for us to make progress on deployment and going to a clean energy economy that many people are talking about these days. The challenge has been, how do you make that happen within a system that's already very, very mature in lots of different ways? Investments have been made. You're trying to amortize those investments that get your ROI on the investments that have been made. The opportunity space that I see that has really accelerated right around 2008 to 2012 was kind of when things really started moving. And I used to joke at that point in time, it took us 30 years to become an overnight success. And you hear that a lot. That's true also of horizontal drilling and fracking. We were at that for a long time before the time came that we were able to really demonstrate that the technology worked. And one thing that Tom Friedman said many years ago when he's one of the essentially journalists on the New York Times staff, and he would say, if you have more functionality at less cost, then it really that's a financial driver. And I think renewable energy in particular, certainly in the deployment in certain regions of the country, it has reached that point where you have more functionality at less cost. That obviously allows you the opportunity to speak about how do you improve existing systems without talking about whether or not you have a strong interest and or, I think, move toward decarbonizing our economy. Because frankly, that makes sense. And when you have technologies that make sense, that's important. Now, we focus a lot on what's happening in the U.S., and I'm going to get to that here momentarily, but let me just offer another perspective, and that is that I think in the OECD countries, the established countries,